Hello and welcome to May 31st, 2022. My name is Kurt and this is my daily Good Life meditation. I do this every morning to remind myself of my life's objectives and principles and to see how I did applying them to yesterday and to plan for the coming day. First, yesterday and last night. Last night was a really awful night. In a relative speaking, nothing awful. There's nothing really awful in my life. There's other people out there suffering really awful stuff. I just use those words to capture the seeming intensity of what last night was like relative to most nights. I always have trouble sleeping in the last couple of hours of the night. I got in that habit when I was working at my last job and worrying a lot about things. And I just can't seem to break it. So I'm starting to see the futility of even trying. Yesterday was Memorial Day, a holiday, and I deliberately, because I slept poorly in the morning over the weekend, I deliberately said, okay, I'm going to tackle the two biggest things on my mind that I'm worrying about with work. So I spent the morning yesterday working on those two things, not the whole morning, maybe 3 hours. And I did. I got a really good start on it, and I thought I had taken care of that. I expected to, if not sleep all the way till the alarm at 5 a.m., at least not to get up in earnest. Not to. What I mean by that is to fully awake, just to kind of be in like a twilight sleep, because my body seems to be in that habit. But nope, got up, full on worry, and I had nothing to worry about. It was like a man coming to dinner expecting a feast, yet finding no food at the table. I couldn't find anything to worry about because I literally don't have anything serious to worry about. Hold on. Imagine that. That's really an appropriate way to describe it. Coming to the banquet table and there's nothing there. Yet fuming and sitting at the table and expecting food to arrive. That's exactly what it was like. I must have been fully awake at 4 a.m., with still an hour left to go. I stayed there and I kept my eyes closed because I know that it's worse if I actually get up. I could fight this by saying, well, damn it, I'm going to get up and do something. I'll pay the price later because I need that full hours, if not of deep sleep, at least of being in bed with my eyes shut, because I kind of drift in and out of this kind of a dream state, right? Well, last night was more like being fully awake and just hiding there with my eyes shut with nothing to worry about. Literally, things are going just fine at work. Sure, if I hadn't spent 3 hours yesterday morning doing what I did, I'm caught up now. It's Tuesday morning, and I'm caught up. I just have to come and just execute now. So this tells me that my mind has been trained, that these pre-hour morning hours or pre-dawn hours are about worry. And it's going to get up and fuss no matter what. I wonder what I can do about that. Oh, I forgot to take it. Yumiko got some interesting pills, some sort of I think it's an herbal thing that she got that we're both taking to try to sleep better. She has trouble getting to sleep. I have trouble staying asleep. Oh, anyway, so that was that. Otherwise, yesterday was a fine day. Got up. It was like I said, it was Memorial Day. We didn't do a damn thing. Yumiko and I just we spent the day, literally the whole day together. After she got up, we took the dogs for a nice walk in the morning. What did we do for breakfast? Oh, Yumiko made a really nice breakfast. And then we puttered around the house, and then we went out for a lunch. The place we wanted to go was closed, so we went to another place that we'd never been to, and it turned out to be very good. Her order was big enough. It was quite large. We were able to reuse the food later for dinner. And then we came home and just stayed home. I was up here reading, and she was downstairs playing a game. And after a while, I just grabbed my book and my pens, and I went downstairs and just sat with her. And we just sat, and then we started talking, and we started looking at real estate listings for places in Japan, and we had fun. We found a place in a combination business residence in the city of Atami, about an hour out of Tokyo, along the eastern coast there. And we found it, and believe it or not, I actually found the place in Atami. I got on Google Maps on my phone and just started looking, and right away I found it. And then I lost it, and had a real hard time finding it. And I found it again, and then I lost it. Too bad the mobile Google app Google Earth doesn't allow you to put pins anywhere. That would have been handy. And we just had the most delightful afternoon. We talked about the place. We talked about what life might be like, how we would use that retail space downstairs. Had a nice, at the top there was like a roof area where you could dry your laundry and have a little garden. And then I would really like to live there. And then we took the dogs for a long walk. Had a nice talk. Came home. I watched Midnight Diner while Yumiko played her game. She loves to play that game of hers. And then we had dinner together, and I went to bed. Overall, not very challenged yesterday. In fact, I was more ahead of the challenges, taking on the work in the morning. It was a good day. A really good day. And I did get my circle as well. It's becoming kind of a boring routine now. I always seem to do a journal entry, and try to make a video, and read 10 pages of anything. Okay, let's do the good life. 7 objectives and 30 principles. As follows. My first objective is to be always ready to die. Just to keep my bags packed with nowhere to go. Meaning that if I die today, I'm leaving my house in good order, my relationships sound, again, in good order, and my life's work complete. And I think I have. All 3 of those are in good shape. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of time. Just to be very careful to not waste my time. Although I'm seeing more that leisure is an important part of time, and it's the kind of thing that I might have previously regarded as a waste of time, as not the best use of time. But I'm seeing, especially now that I'm getting older and hopefully going to retire in a few years, I should be able to find a good way to use leisure. I don't want to work all the way to the end. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Just to have good tools at my disposal for towards better living. Hi, Rudy. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions, so that I react well to the circumstances and challenges of life. Number 5 is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. 6 is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, so that I'm keeping within the bounds. I had something yesterday where I was applying that. I can't remember what it was. What was that? And then next is final objective is to hold on, I'm forgetting. Make good and effective use of time, cultivate good emotional reactions, perform good actions, recognize true limits and true opportunities. I knew what it was, I just couldn't say it. Do one thing slowly. That's the last one. To just not rush. unless I'm being chased by a crocodile. Then I can run as fast as I want. Just do one thing slowly and deliberately, mindfully, and with truth. It sounds highfalutin to add that, but I think that helps. Next is my 30 principles. These are as follows. Number 1, the principle of war. To always be fighting against whatever I think is true, whatever I already hold as true, and whatever comes my way as being claimed as something that I should accept as true. I need to make sure that it is true. And to that end, I use the second principle, reason, and the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, and doubt as my tools, trying to be honest with myself and others. I want to be objective, look at things clearly, both eyes open, and to be a fierce skeptic at all times, or at least for the important stuff. Number 3 is the Homunculus, the reminder that I don't have doesn't seem like I have a soul, but I do get a consciousness, and I'll carry this consciousness with me as long as I'm conscious, which may be a shorter time than I'm alive. Next is the Anchorhold, the suggestion that the homunculus is trapped within my skull and will die with me. No eternity for me, or for any of us, I think. Next comes the home of good and evil, the suggestion that right and wrong, good and evil are mere opinions that we hold. They don't exist in the universe outside of us. And then purpose, the idea that, I have 3 purpose. One is to be a good husband and father, mainly to facilitate the successful raising of my daughter to adulthood, getting my genes into the next generation, which is our one biological mandate. My second purpose is to be virtuous, helping to improve the well-being of thinking creatures in particular. And then 3, the sharing of my book, Going Alone. That's my mission. Available on Amazon and at goingalone.org. It's the story of how I encountered the emptiness of the universe, and then what I chose to do with that, namely, to develop this good life creed and use it as my apparatus for better living. Next is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, including myself, and it's all falling to pieces and coming to pieces. I was thinking about that yesterday, just more like the cyclical nature of things. There was a woman on the freeway who was clearly quite upset and anxious and roaring. She was roaring through life, or through that afternoon at least. Taking it all so seriously, and I was thinking about that how I'm falling to pieces, and because I'm getting old, I'm beginning to fall to pieces, and my life will fall to pieces. And she's busy, pressing against the entropy to create order out of seeming chaos. Out of chaos, not seeming chaos, it is chaos. I guess that's the mandate of the young, right? To assemble order from the what is it? I guess I have to use the word chaos again, to assemble order from chaos. That's their mission. To keep back the tide of disorder. And it's the old people's mission to, once we're spent, to get out of the way. Let them do it. Which I am quite happy to do. I was telling Emiko yesterday that, in our next home, which will be just the 2 of us, I don't want my own space. I don't want an office. I don't even want a computer. I just want a chair in a room with her where we can be together. And I don't want a computer to go to. If I can't do it on my phone, I don't need to do it. And I just want I've got a beautiful collection of books here. I've collected a nice collection of books to read in my retirement, so I don't have to expend money on that after we're done. I can just, because it'll be hard to get books in Japan too. Just ship all these things over with me. Just want to have access to my books, a comfortable seat to sit on in a room with her, and my plan is to spend my days, if not engaged in some sort of a working pursuit, then just walking around wherever we live with books, reading. I read while I walk, walking, reading. A little more challenging prospect in Japan than here, I think, though, but I can do it. Anyway, how did I get off on that? Okay, so next, after the atomic principle comes the principle of nature. Everything has some particular nature, including me and you, and my job and my mind, now that it's tuned and trained to worry about work. That's its nature now. I wonder if I can train it to stop worrying like that. Then comes maturity, and the sub-principle. No, the pirate ride. I always do that. I always stumble right there. The pirate ride, my suggestion that free will is an illusion, a very convincing illusion, but an illusion nonetheless. That we can make any choice we want, but in the end, the universe has a lot to say about what we decide. In a way, it's just better to relax a little bit. Maybe a lot of it. Yumiko and I one of the things we talked about yesterday was the idea of trying to be, get a better job between now and retirement. My pension will be determined by my ending salary. So, if I can, and I think that there might be opportunities for me to do so if I could climb up the corporate ladder, so to speak, another couple of rungs for a few more years. That will bode well for our long-term security and comfort. And Yumiko is strongly against that. She's aware of my nature, which is that I worry about work. And, the more responsibility I have, I worry about I worry about the challenges that I have, and I make up stuff, right? As clearly as I described from my waking up this morning and not able to sleep, even though I have nothing to worry about. My mind just finds something. So I really appreciate that. She's like, no, you shouldn't go any further, Kurt. It's not your nature. Well, it is my nature to torture myself with work, maybe deliberately. So the cost is too much. So I think I'm just going to stay where I am, which I'm very happy where I am. I did try moving up a notch, and I deliberately came back to get away from that. And that's why I can't sleep, right? I've never had this problem in my life until I did go up a notch. I climbed that next rung in the corporate ladder, and I ate for a couple of years, and I realized that's not for me, and I came back down. But now I'm like a crippled man, a bit broken from the experience. I may never get that back. Although I can't imagine that I'll be like this after retirement. What the hell am I going to worry about? I won't, we'll see. Anyway, that was the principle of free will, although it had nothing to do with free will. And then comes the principle of maturity. Then the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. There you go. I got ahead of myself. That's where that's related to. Maturity is to reflect upon and remember our past failures and successes, and then do better in the future. that's exactly what that was. So I was thinking about that it might be nice to try to climb another rung or two in the corporate ladder, and Yumiko wisely was remembering our past experiences of that as a couple and waving me away from that idea. I don't think she would tolerate it. That's wisdom on her part. Folly on my part for even thinking about it. Being tempted by... Next is the social principle. We're social creatures. We need each other. And then public speaking. A reminder to be very careful in my communications, to use the best words I can, words that are appropriate, that are understood. Don't be highfalutin. Even though I've cultivated a good vocabulary, I don't use words that won't be understood or irrelevant. I'm not going to use some 18th century bit of language just to show off, even if it is appropriate. Because what's more important is clear communication and relevance. So anyway, the principle of public speaking says to be very careful about what I say and what I write, and to never ever gossip. That's the key element there. It's the gossiping part, because that's the thing that really drags you down. Okay, then there's two principles that go together. Distraction and agency, and the great indifference. By the way, the agency part speaks to us. There's agents in the universe, namely sentient creatures. And then there's the great indifference, the mindless void. We don't want to see that mindless void, because it suggests to us that God is an idea. The concept of God is a fiction that we've made up to comfort ourselves. So to avoid seeing the great indifference, we keep really busy with distractions, work and play and hobbies and family and sports and religion, just to keep our focus off of the emptiness that pervades the universe. I suggest taking a break from that and actually witnessing that great emptiness. It's a sobering experience. It's the subject of my book going along. Next comes Temperance, a suggestion to be very careful in my consumption of all things, including work and play and food and drink and everything. And the sub-principles of suffering, simplicity, and apathy, because we suffer when we deny ourselves what we want. And a simple life is a temperate life. And we can use apathy to disconnect from the things that are outside of our control. Like I used apathy yesterday with that woman that I saw that was constructing order in the world. It was so clear. It was just, it almost came through. She was in a car, and it almost came through the car the way she was driving. The aggression and the ambition. The aggression and the ambition. That's what came through. Both at the same time. It was kind of like I don't know, maybe like a real estate agent in a hurry to show the big deal. Aggressive driving coupled with ambitious hopes, what's the word? Ambitious drive, she was building something, and, it's like an engine at high RPMs, it's producing a lot of energy, but there's a lot of noise and heat and vibration coming off of it too. It's like energy and entropy. Energy and entropy. Sounds like a Fleetwood Mac album. I like that. Well, it sounds a little bit like borrowing from Graydon Square and Tombstone, the Dead Man's comic strip. They talk entropy and extropy and entropy. It's the same thing, right? By the way, I sent a message to Graydon yesterday that I had talked about him in a recent video, because he's such an exemplary human being, a real role model in my perspective. Anyway, here we go. Back to it, Kurt. So I was talking about that was the was I talking about all of that with Temperance? Yeah, apathy, recognizing what's outside of our control. So that came back because that woman that I saw, let's call her a real estate agent, racing to the client out to show a house. You know, she was being aggressive on the road, and I used apathy to recognize that what she's doing is outside of my control. And I simply made sure that I moved over just a little bit so that as she raced around, she had plenty of room. I recognized what was in control, what was in my control. I used apathy to let her be outside of that, to not engage me unduly with that. It's a tricky thing, right? Because at the same time, I should try to signal to her as a fellow resident, citizen of the community, that my disapproval of her reckless driving, but at the same time while not internalizing it. And I did that. I think I did that successfully yesterday. Then next comes the horror show. Life is just a scary, terrible place, chock full of terrible things happening all around us, maybe to us right now, if not coming for us. And I want to remember that. And then a principle called that which must be borne or carried. What we have to bear is the responsibility of our commitments, and the consequence of our decisions. Like maybe this sleeplessness is just a consequence of the decision that I made to climb that tier on the corporate level ladder that brought me up a level, that introduced me to a level of anxiety and of work-related anxiety and worry that I was not formerly aware of, and ruined my sleep. At the same time, though, it made me more appreciative. Now that I got back to where I used to work, where I now work, I really appreciate this environment, which is a great place to work. So I'm glad for the experience, even if it cost me my mornings. That's something I have to bear. I have to bear the consequence of that action. And Yumiko was right. If I was to do that now, if I was to try to go up another level or two where I am now, to get the bigger salary, to go out with a better retirement, that would not be free. That would come at a great cost. It's probably not worth it. Just rather have a simpler retirement, more humble and peaceful. Doesn't mean that complex retirement can't be peaceful. Maybe it can be more peaceful still. But I think that the point is peaceful for, like, it wasn't worth it to climb. It was kind of worth it to climb that next rung because of the recognition that I now have of how good I've got it, where I now work. But it wasn't worth it insofar as it cost me my ability to sleep well. Oh boy. See? Everything has a price. Okay, next after that which must be borne. And we have to bear the horror show too. Comes oh yeah, the Feast of Offal. Offal, the waste and byproduct of butchery. I apply this to the waste and byproduct of our poor living. It kind of gets to us and makes us upset. And we can share that with the world and upset them and soil them. And they can do the same by soil us. James Hetfield, the singer from Metallica, I saw on the news, that he cried on stage recently. Apparently he's battling some issues inside. That wasn't the Feast of Offal. His fans received that in a very touching way and offered him a lot of support. That's a man that's struggling, who just kind of stumbled on stage, emotionally, and let it out. That's not the Feast of Offal. Because that was more of an honest expression of, although a feast can be an honest expression too, but it's an aggressive one. It's a negative one. It's different in that capacity. It hurts other people. It soils them. What James Hetfield did was brought empathy and caring and connection rather than upset and hurt. Because it's not the feast. The feast is when we blow up, when we bottle up inside and decide that we're going to transfer that pain to others. I don't want to do that. And I don't do that anymore, thank goodness. I used to do that decades ago, but I don't do it anymore. And nor when other people are doing it, nor do I consume the feast. I'll just be there to help, to offer a hand if they need it when they're done. Okay, next comes, after the Feast of Offal comes the best seat in the house. To not want to be anyone else, be anywhere else, or be doing. I think I kind of messed things up. I think I kind of got the agency and the great indifference in the wrong place, but I think I'm back on track. The best seat in the house, to be okay where I am, who I am, and what I'm doing. Like, I'm really looking forward to my retirement, but I'm not going to live in that time. I'm going to be content and happy with what I've got right now to the best of my ability. And then the Path of Wildness, which is a way upward and forward into a new life, a new chapter of life, to leave all this behind. Have pound a big garage sale sign one day, sell everything I've got, give it away, and go have a new life. It's really fun. It leaves you with little. But it all comes back within a few years. And it comes back better. It's good to set fire to our lives once in a while. Take a match to our living. Okay, now next is kind of messed up. That was the Path of Wildness. Now the risk of avoiding risk. The surface level risks of life are education, career, home, family, and security. And the deep level risk is actualizing on our curiosity to find ourselves, so to speak. And it's tricky to do both of those things, to attend to the surface level and the deep level, because they're different expeditions. One is a sea voyage, and the other is climbing a great mountain. It requires different equipment and different activities and different use of time. So you have to almost do them in separate seasons. True, you could take great little bites of the Great Life Adventure over the weekend, but it's not quite the same. It's best to have a Great Life Adventure that's a wholesale part of life, altogether new chapter. And preferably when we're young. Next comes the season of philosophy, which is a time to record what we've learned along the way, particularly during the time of the Great Life Adventure. And then the bullseye aim, trying to strive for the mark but missing usually. And then the uphill climb, steady trudge up. And then arena and utility, a reminder that to use the principles that these principles to live better, to have them ready to use in a moment's notice. Like yesterday, as soon as I saw that aggressive woman in the car, I applied my apathy, pulled it to the fore, and said, "Okay, Kurt, just distance yourself from that. Get the car a little bit away, and let her pass safely, and communicate, telegraph no approval to her aggressive driving." And then after that comes bullseye aim, nothing is enough, suggesting that less is better, but not quite zero, even though it says nothing. And then finally, the principle of fun, reminder to have a good time in the here and now, while looking forward to the future and enjoying our retrospect in the past, towards the past. There's my Good Life Creed for today. Now let's plan for the day. After I get up, after I stop this, I'll start the upload. I'll go over, I'm going to read my Bible, Isaiah 56 this morning. Then I'll go downstairs and I'll fire up the computer, get things ready for work. Then I'll go downstairs and I'll feed the dogs and myself. Then I'll come upstairs, change my shirt, and get ready for work, start my day. All right, thanks for joining me. Be safe, but not too safe.